So this issue has come up several times in my career in tech, and I've had organizations complain about talent leaving. And talent leaving sometimes because of job titles or sometimes for other reasons. But corporate America is really, yeah, it's absurd that this even is an issue because it reflects a complete misunderstanding of technical disciplines. First of all, most job titles from companies reflect complete ignorance of the people hired or the skills needed for the job. Okay, if you're going to be a manager in life, if you're watching this and you're a manager, and usually the tech powwows are for manager people, manager-like, or technical managers, technical entrepreneurs, but you must learn to identify the skills of who's working for you and the title the person based on their skills, not based on what your organization thinks is the appropriate title. Okay. Why there's even an HR department, I don't know. But if you think HR knows anything, you're wrong. They are completely clueless about technical stuff. In fact, there have been a lot of jobs that have been interested in me over the years that I have refused to take because I took 5 minutes talking to their HR department and hated their company after it. I was like, never will talk to that company again. In fact, one really funny company, I remember that. It was, and they were just like, "Why aren't you interested?" Because I talked to HR. It's like, let me tell you, I hate HR, and most technical people do because HR is so dumb. They're just stupid when it comes to technical stuff, and then they ask the most annoying questions in the world. So, is the person really an architect or are they a developer? If you don't know the difference between those, then first of all, you shouldn't even be a manager. Okay, those are not synonyms. Right? Is the person a DBA or are they really an automation engineer? Again, if you think those are the same thing, you don't know anything. Shouldn't be a manager, right? A manager should be able to assess the skills of his or her staff, right? Think of the Lord of the Rings, right? What is it? Is it Return of the King, or maybe it's the Two Towers? You had, a dwarf, an elf, and a human, right? They all have different skills. That's kind of what you need to be able to figure out: who's the elf, who's the dwarf, and who's the human on your team, right? It's not the responsibility of the employees to identify these things. Otherwise, they'd go into business for themselves, or they would be managers themselves, right? And they'll leave your company. So that's your responsibility. So what is the person doing? Well, there's the title, right? Let's go back to the HR point. Oh, HR, and you're going into what grade? I love how they ask questions that are just every time I've had to talk to HR, it's just like, who the heck are you? Anyway, they ask questions like this. They're retarded questions. They reflect a complete misunderstanding of what business is. Business exists to solve problems, right? I'll get into in a second what happens when businesses don't solve problems, but that's fundamentally what businesses are doing, right? It's not selling a product, you are solving a problem. Everything that you sell is a solution to some problem. If it's not, you're not going to stay in business very long. Trust me on that one, okay? People need to eat, so people who are selling food, they're solving the problem of hunger, right? HR in this manner makes you uncompetitive. So keep HR away from your technical people, and I promise you'll reduce the amount of headaches from talented people leaving or from people just dropping out of the interview process. Again, there are a lot of DBAs, developers, very skilled people I've talked to who refuse to work for a company who puts HR at any part of the interview process. Wow. Think about it. You want to lose talent? There you go. So, Tech Bubble 2.0 right now is popping. LinkedIn is crashing. Splunk is crashing. Who's the other one? Tableau is crashed. Tableau is overrated hype. But anyway, all of these things are crashing right now. And we're going to see really quickly who's innovating and who's not. We're going to see really quickly who's solving problems and who's not. And the great thing about when bubbles burst, like with the oil bubble popping, is you see which oil companies were borrowing out the wazoo and which oil companies were prepared for these events, right? It's the same thing when tech bubbles burst. When the tech bubble pops, you start to see, okay, so who's really been managing things well, okay? If you're not hiring someone to solve your problems, if you're just hiring someone to look good, then you're the company that you're wasting all kinds of money. And I promise you, there will come a day where you will go out of business because you're just burning through cash. And you're always going to be deceived if you're just looking for someone who looks good, right? Usually your best technical people are not going to look great on paper, number one. And number two, they're probably not going to speak well to people who don't have problems, which is HR. HR just, they have time to waste, right? So they'll just blah, 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 blah. They don't have any problems. Well, they do, but they don't. They're the kind of people who are very unreflective and don't realize their problems. So they're going to waste interview time. Whereas you put a technical person on the phone, and I've seen this time and time again, and you start talking about, here's some of the problems that we're facing, and watch them immediately start going to work. Right? That's the type of interview you want, right? It's like, I still say this, the best interview to have with people is to give them a problem to solve. Because the technical people always rise to the top. Right? It's the person who has the 16 PhDs that wants to just answer questions all the time. It's like, yeah, that's not going to solve problems. We need you to get in here, hit the ground, and start solving problems, right? So what is the person doing? There's your job title. Keep HR away from your technical people. And finally, look, tech bubble's bursting. So we're about to find out which tech companies have been innovating, which companies have been creating solutions, and which companies have just been wasting money. That's a great thing. I promise you that there will always be hard times. Even since the book of Genesis, you had Joseph tell Pharaoh, there are 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. The famine is coming. Okay? As Machiavelli states, it is a common defect in man to not make any provision in the calm against the tempest, and the tempest is here. So, is your company hiring for the tempest, or are you guys just taking advantage of the good times only to go bankrupt later?